In fact, this is so embarrassing and cringy to talk about.
I got a glitch. Oh, it just hit me
Hello,
now.
beautiful people, and welcome to my very first video of 2021. I'm Ash, your truth-bombing fairy godmother for everything love, dating, and relationships. Oh, it feels so good to be back. I missed you all like crazy, and I'm so excited to dive into today's video. Today's topic is one that has been requested a few times now, which is how to know if you genuinely love someone or if you are simply addicted to them. I think this is such a great question, so we're going to be determining some ways that you can tell the difference between really truly loving someone or being emotionally addicted or infatuated with them. But first, if you think you could benefit from new love, dating, and relationship videos every single week, then I highly suggest subscribing to my channel by tapping that button below. We have such an incredible little community here, and I really don't think you will regret choosing to stick around. Okay, so the first thing I want to draw attention to when it comes to discussing the differences between loving someone or being addicted to them emotionally is something that I've discussed at length in some of my previous videos, such as this one up here about self-love, which is the fact that love is so much more than just an emotion. We can, of course, feel our love as well, but when it comes down to the actual act of loving another person, it is so much deeper than just an emotion or a feeling that ebbs and flows. For example, when you exit the honeymoon phase of a relationship and those passionate, exciting, in love feelings begin to fade or calm down, that does not necessarily mean that you no longer love the person. Or if you're experiencing something like depression or anxiety and therefore you can't access or connect to your loving feelings, whether that's towards your partner or your friends or even your child, for instance, if you're experiencing something like postpartum depression, that also does not mean that you don't love. Love is not measured by feelings. Love is ultimately the act and the choice of choosing to show up and put in effort even when we can't necessarily feel those loving emotions. And the reason why understanding this is important and relevant is because I think taking a step back and really objectively analyzing our emotions and our behaviors is one of the easiest ways to distinguish genuine love from emotional addiction or infatuation. When I hear someone describe emotions that are really obsessive and feverish and desperate and all-consuming, the types of emotions that cause us to do really irrational things or think and behave in ways that we otherwise wouldn't, I do not think that that experience equates to love. And I'm not saying that you can't experience love and emotional addiction at the same time, because I certainly think that you can, but just for the sake of this video, I'm going to be discussing them as two separate experiences. And in my opinion, genuine love is much more grounded than emotional addiction or infatuation, or at least it becomes much more grounded once those beginning, really exciting, yet temporary stages of a relationship or connection eventually wear off. Real love is warmer and safer, and it feels more secure. You know that really cliche passage that they always read at weddings about love not being boastful but patient and kind and yada yada yada? As cliche as it is, I think all of those things are true. And again, as I said before, love is not just an emotion or a feeling anyway. It's not measured by how wild or passionate our feelings are, because those wild and passionate feelings are temporary. Its measure is so much deeper and more concrete, and in my opinion is gauged by the actions and choices and decisions we make within the relationship and how we choose to show up for the other person. Whereas those more volatile, extreme, erratic emotions, I think, are more than likely a result of emotional addiction than they are of genuine real love. Dr. Nicole LePera from The Holistic Psychologist shared something on Instagram a while back that provided examples of exactly what I'm talking about here in relation to those more extreme types of emotions that are often experienced by someone who is addicted to another person. And it said, a push, pull, or breakup and makeup dynamic that feels exciting and all-consuming. The inability to focus on anything else, including other relationships, work, etc., outside of the relationship. An overwhelming feeling of being stuck with an overwhelming desire to not lose the person. Fights, drama, and instability feel both painful and necessary to keep the connection. Your mind feels hijacked by another person, and you engage in behaviors that you wouldn't normally engage in. And something really, really important that she then goes on to explain in the caption of this post is that if we've experienced any type of trauma in our life, which I think most of us have to varying degrees, it's extremely normal and natural to confuse body activation, so those really extreme feelings, with connection and love. And again, I think that's why understanding that love is so much more than just feelings or body activation is so necessary. As Dr. Nicole explains, it's that internal activation and stimulation that keeps us stuck in emotionally addictive patterns. It truly is like a drug addict or any other type of addict getting that high or getting that fix. And because of that, there is absolutely no reason to feel shame over finding yourself drawn to or stuck in these types of dynamics. It's not your fault, and it takes a serious amount of time and effort to unlearn that way of operating and eventually heal. To draw on some personal experiences here, I think both of my previous relationships before my current one were cases of emotional addiction. The inability to focus on anything else other than the relationship, check. I had complete and utter tunnel vision and would have dropped or bailed on anything else, no matter how important, for the sake of being with my boyfriends. There was nothing that felt nearly as emotionally stimulating as being with my boyfriends, which is obviously incredibly unhealthy. I also absolutely engaged in behaviors that I otherwise wouldn't have. I had such high standards in every other aspect of my life in terms of really demanding respect for myself, and yet that all went out the window when it came to my relationships. I let my ex-boyfriends all over me because I was just so desperate to be chosen and to not lose them. And I also did really embarrassing, irrational things to try and win them over or get their attention. And I also don't think those types of behaviors are rooted in a place of love. And I think another point worth talking about is that if they weren't choosing me, and this is really shameful to admit, I wished unhappiness on them. Only wanting the best for someone when they're with you or when they're choosing you is not love. Real love isn't spiteful. And that was extremely telling for me once me and my fiance got together and I finally recognized what real, healthy, grounded love actually felt like in comparison to how I felt about my exes. In fact, this is so embarrassing and cringy to talk about, but there was a period of time after, months and months after, me and my ex had broken up, where we had ended up hanging out again. And I had already had plans to move to Australia at this point, so I was already on my way out of the country. But in an attempt to get even with him for breaking my heart, I decided that I was gonna make him catch feelings for me again, and then I was gonna gallop off to Australia, leaving him heartbroken and regretting letting me go. I wanted to be like the one that got away. the rationale, I can't. But the moral of the story here is that I didn't want my ex happy without me. I didn't want him to succeed in life if I wasn't a part of it. And that type of vengefulness or aim to break someone's heart isn't love. It's that type of really polarizing love-hateness that varies or is dependent upon whether or not the other person is choosing us back, that is much more characteristic of an emotional addiction than it is love. And don't get me wrong, I think that there is a healthy, normal, and even an expected level of pettiness, I suppose, when it comes to being annoyed at seeing someone who hurt you happy without you. But fantasizing about getting even is not real love. Feeling crushed and heartbroken is one thing, but if you really love someone, as opposed to just being addicted to them or the attention that they gave you, I think you ultimately want them to achieve happiness. So if you're wondering if you love someone or if you are simply addicted to them, in addition to perhaps going through that checklist that I shared that the holistic psychologist created, perhaps you can ask yourself the question, do you genuinely want what is best for this person, or do you only want what is best for them when they are with you? Because if you only want what is best for them when you are involved, that's looking out for yourself. And anyone who knows anything about addiction knows that addiction is selfish as f***. Addiction is about getting your fix and your needs met. And that is very, very different than love, which is much more rooted in truly, genuinely caring and wanting what is best for that other person, even if, as painful as it is, that doesn't include you. In my opinion, to truly love someone is the recognition that that person deserves happiness, regardless of what that happiness looks like, who it includes, or who it doesn't. Okay, my loves, I hope that provided some clarity when it comes to determining the difference between genuinely loving someone or simply being addicted to them. As always, I would love to hear your thoughts on this, and if you're open to sharing some of your own stories when it comes to emotional addiction. Thank you so much for watching my first video of 2021. I can't believe I've been here for a whole year. It's insane. I love you all so much. I appreciate you all so much, and I will see you all next week.
Tell me what was in that stuff you gave me. I think I like it. In fact, it made me high.